everybody! I had a full boat of chores to look forward to this weekend, so I knew I'd be stuck around the house all day. And I can't think of a better time to throw in a batch of jerky. I'm making these beef and venison tender jerky bites that'll annihilate anything you can buy in a bag off the shelf. So let's get started. Let's get into the meat, and you always want to use lean meat when you're making jerky because fat will go rancid before lean meat spoils. So I've got some nice top round here, and I've also got some of my own venison over there that I'm going to be using today, and I cherish that stuff, so that's going to be a secret little personal stash. And now the first thing I want to do is trim any excess fat off of these, and then I'm going to cut it into some kind of bite-sized little nuggets. Sausage pile, get it going. Now you cut these chunks however you like. I like maybe ½ inch by ½ inch by 1 inch-ish cubes like this. But that's not terribly important. But you do want to kind of make them all similar in size. Keep in mind, they're going to shrink down by 30% or so. Now let's get our marinade going, and this is real easy to do with a little math. The first thing I want to do is weigh the meat. And that is 3,600 grams, or 3.6 kilos, which is 7.9 pounds in case you're curious. But I am going to be using metric measurements here as usual because I like to add the salt and the sugar as percentages. And using the metric measurements just makes that a lot easier to calculate, as you'll see here in a moment. But I will try to translate the recipe using cups and spoons in the recipe in the comments. 2 to 3% salt content is fairly common for a lot of cured meats, and 3% is just a little high for my liking in this recipe, so I'm going to add 2.75% salt. Now with my metric measurements, I can just take 3,600 grams, multiply that by 2.75%, and that lets me know that I need 99 grams of salt. But I really don't know how many cups or spoons that is, so that is what makes this so easy to do. And this is always plain, non-iodized salt. You could use kosher salt. There we go, get the salt in. Now let's move on to the sugar, and this is gonna be a pretty sweet one today. It's gonna be sweeter than I normally like it, but I think most people around the country actually prefer it like this is gonna be. And sugar is also a pretty powerful natural meat tenderizer, so sweeter jerky is often more tender than savory jerky. Now you can use as much or as little sugar as you like. I'm using 10% today, so for my 3,600 grams of meat, that's going to be 360 grams. And it does actually come out to about 1/4 cup per pound of meat, but that is not exact. You may use brown sugar or you may use white sugar. It's not going to make a whole lot of difference. Right there. There we go. Now, all this metric stuff is not to say that you can't use cups and spoons to measure most of the ingredients. Once you have a tried and true amount of salt or sugar you like in a recipe, and you've broken that down to how many tablespoons or cups per pound it is, it's a very fast and easy way to get going. But I'm always trying new recipes here, so I don't have a standard that I'm always using, and I need to know exactly what I'm putting in there every time for future reference. Now, salt, sugar, and smoke alone makes for a very tasty jerky. But you know you want to jazz things up, so add in whatever spices you like. I'm going to throw in some garlic powder. That's 2 teaspoons of garlic powder, which weighs 5 grams. And I'm going to add a little bit of heat as usual with just a touch of cayenne. This is 1 tablespoon, and it's a little fluffier than that garlic, so that also weighs 5 grams. And I really do like just a hint of clove with beef. I don't know what it is. I don't want to put a ton of it in there and make it all Christmassy or anything, although I do have a pumpkin spice jerky recipe on the channel that you might want to check out. It's actually pretty good. So this is 1/2 teaspoon of ground cloves, and that weighs 1 gram. Now I'm just gonna hit this with just a splash of Worcestershire sauce for that umami boost. I don't know, that might have been a 1/4 cup. I'm not too concerned about measuring that. I can smell it. And that should be pretty darn tasty. But of course, it's always fun to play around with all kinds of spices and create your own unique jerkies. And that is the beauty of making your own. Now, I gotta mix this together very, very thoroughly. Then we'll talk about cure a little bit. The cure is optional in this recipe, and I'm talking about pink curing salt #1, also known as Prague powder #1. And what this is a blend of sodium nitrite and plain salt, and this is going to kill any bacteria that might be in here, and it's also a preservative that's going to increase the shelf life of your jerky. But it does also add a particular flavor and texture to the jerky. Now, I prefer cured jerky, but you can go ahead and leave this out if you want. I would have actually added this in already with the salt and sugar, but I'm gonna go ahead and pull some of this out right now, and I'll do it both ways so we can take a look at the difference. I pulled out a portion of this for my uncured jerky, and I've re-weighed the rest of this because when you're figuring cure, you want to use the total weight of the meat and the marinade. I've got 3 kilos left in the bowl, and the cure goes in at the rate of 0.25% or 2.5 grams per kilo. So that's 7.5 grams here. And that translates to about 1.1 grams per pound, or if you're using the old rule of thumb, that's about 1 teaspoon of cure per 5 pounds of meat. You do want to be pretty accurate with your cure, because too much of this can make you feel pretty bad. Now I'll get that in there, and again I'll stir this around thoroughly. Oh no, I ran out of gloves. All right. And now I've got my beautiful venison here, and I will mix that up to the same ratios as I did the beef. Now marinating these in bags is usually my favorite way to go, but I got too much here to fit into a bag, so I'll just leave it in here. And I'll weigh this guy down, keep everything kind of pressed to make sure it's all nice and wet. That cure is gonna take some time to work its way all the way through these chunks of meat and work its magic. So it'll be in the refrigerator for 2 days. After the first day, I'll pull them out, I'll massage my sack a little bit, and I'll give this a stir. It's another beautiful sausage Sunday morning, and it's time to finish our jerky bites here. These have been soaking for a couple of days. Now first I just want to try to strain off any extra juices that are down in there. Shouldn't be a whole lot left. I'll just let that sit for a few minutes and let some of that drain off of there. Now I'm going to get a little head start on the drying here by patting these off with some paper towels. Now with some of this, I want to get some fresh ground pepper on there, and this is a good time to do it because these things are nice and sticky, and that'll really stick that pepper to the surface of this. Now let's rack this up, and these are going to be pretty sticky from all that sugar I put in there, so a little cooking spray on your racks is a good idea. I just spread these around and try to make sure nobody's touching each other. If you're finishing these in a dehydrator or even in the oven, set those to 150 degrees Fahrenheit and you can pop them in there right now. But if you're smoking these, it's always good to let them air dry for a little while to help that smoke stick on there and penetrate a little bit more. You could do that by putting this into the refrigerator overnight if you've got space for that. Or, if you're fortunate enough to have a sausage closet, you can pop those in there with the fan going, get a lot of good air circulation going, and leave these in here at room temperature for an hour or so until they get real nice and tacky. And into the smoker. Got my smoker set to 150 degrees Fahrenheit, and I'm burning some hickory wood today. And the amount of time these are going to take you is going to depend on how big your pieces are and how done you like your jerky. Little pieces like this are going to come up to temperature pretty quickly, and after that you're just kind of dehydrating them down and adding smoke flavor to your liking. And the last time I did these, they took 3 hours, but these chunks are just a little bit bigger. So I'll start tasting them at 3 hours and we'll see where we are. And that's just kind of how you gotta do it when you're making little things like this, especially out here in the elements where you might get some fluctuation in your smoker temperature, and everybody likes their jerky a little bit different. So I'll let these go, and that'll give me some time to get some work done around here.
Meanwhile.
Alright, let's check these out. I tested them at 3 hours and they still needed quite a bit more time. So now it's been 5 hours. Ooh, they feel really nice. Let's give it a try. Oh yeah, that's just about right for me. So like I was saying, depending on the size of your cut, how much you got in your smoker, weather conditions, and any other number of variables, it's all going to affect how long this takes to cook. So test them a lot, give them a little squeeze, give them a taste, and just pull them out when you really like them. So now I want to chill these down kind of quickly so there's no carryover cooking. So I'm going to pop these into the refrigerator uncovered and just let them cool all the way down in there. And then we'll do our final taste test. was a long day, and you'll have to forgive my hands. I got all kind of pitch and dirt and all manner of filth that I can't get off of there. But now it's finally time to see how we did. Check out that bite. Oh yeah. Now those are what I call dank nugs. They're a little bit sweet for me, as expected, but they've got a really nice balance between sweet and salty. And I cut off the smoke after the first 3 hours in the smoker, and they've still got plenty of smoke flavor. The texture's really nice. It's chewy, but it's still moist and tender enough to not break your jaw on. Let's look inside one of these. There you can see it, all nice and red all the way through. And that's that cure working in there. Oh yeah. Now let's compare that to the uncured beef jerky. There you can see there's a good deal of difference in the colors of those. Let's give this a try. It's also got really great flavor, but it's not quite as moist as the cured jerky, and it has a different texture. It's kind of more of a break apart kind of texture than the other one, if that makes sense. You can kind of feel the fibers when you bite this one. It is a noticeable difference, but dang, really good. And finally, my secret stash of venison jerky. Check out that bite. Woohoo! There it is. That is everything that the first one was, with a little something extra. It's definitely my favorite, but a lot of that may be sentimental because this one has a hunting story that goes with it. Now, as far as storing these, you can keep the cured jerky in the refrigerator for probably a couple of months, or vacuum sealed and in the freezer nearly indefinitely. The uncured is also going to last for a very long time in the refrigerator, but maybe not quite as long as the cured stuff. Any of these are pretty much going to be good until they start to mold. If you keep them in a plastic bag, they're going to sweat a little bit and you'll get some moisture inside of the bag. That's harmless, but if you don't want it to happen, you can keep them in a paper bag, but they will slowly get drier and drier that way. So, the next time you got a full day of chores to look forward to, toss in a batch of jerky bites and you'll have a nice reward waiting for you when you're done. Thanks for watching.